You wake slowly. There's no urgency here, no alarm, no rush. Only the quiet insistence of cold air on your skin and the faint ache in your hips from sleeping on straw. You lie still for a moment, your breath soft and even, rising into the darkness like mist. Around you, the stone hut holds its silence. Thick walls, old and uneven, hum faintly with the night's chill. They've stood here for decades, perhaps longer, rough-hewn and damp with mountain moisture. Your blanket has slipped off your shoulder. It's scratchy with wool and smoke. You pull it back up, nestling deeper into its weight, but the cold has already crept in. It clings to your fingers, seeps under the collar of your tunic, kisses your ankles. You curl slightly, warming yourself with your own breath. There's no fire left in the hearth, only the memory of warmth. A faint trace of soot and burnt bark lingering in the air. You inhale through your nose. The air smells of sheep, of dust, of wood that has been carved, burned, and mended too many times. There's hay in the corner, an old wooden bucket by the door, and your staff leaning against the wall. All of it is familiar, worn, yours. Outside, it is still deep night. Not the dark of cities, not lit by electricity or distant headlights, but a pure ancient dark, mountain dark, the kind that swallows sound and waits, patient and slow, for the first bird to call. You shift slightly. The straw bed beneath you rustles, dry, broken reeds packed into an old woolen sack. It squeaks under your weight. Your back pops. Your knees grumble. You wince, not from pain, but from stiffness, the price of a life spent walking uneven hills, chasing strays, hauling bundles of firewood through snow and rain. You reach for your boots. They're stiff with yesterday's frost, the leather rough and heavy. You push your feet in anyway, letting the chill bite for a moment. It wakes you better than water. When you stand, your cloak slips off the wall peg with a familiar whisper. You wrap it around your shoulders, the smell of sheep fat and lanolin rising from the folds. It's thick, patched, and uneven, but it holds the heat. And that is what matters here. You move to the door, stepping softly on the stones. You've learned how to walk without sound, not to wake the lambs, not to disturb the dog curled by the threshold, not to startle the quiet of the morning before it begins. You lift the wooden bar from the door. It creaks just once, and you wince at the sound. Then, slowly, you open the door. Outside, the world is still sleeping. The sky is a deep indigo, veiled in mist. The peaks above are ghost-like, softened by fog. Frost clings to every surface, to the wooden fence, to the stones, to the woolly backs of the sheep huddled near the hut. Their breath steams in the cold, soft clouds rising and fading into the dark. You step out into the cold. Gravel crunches underfoot. The wind is faint, just a whisper slipping through the trees below. You breathe in deeply. Sharp air fills your lungs, waking your bones from sleep. Behind you, the door shuts gently. A new day begins. Quietly, slowly, wrapped in mist and wool. You stay at the threshold for a long time, not from hesitation, just because the moment holds you. The sky above is vast and breathless. No sun yet, just that pale, waiting light that touches everything in silver. You see your breath before you feel it. Slow clouds drifting from your lips, curling like smoke before fading into the mountain stillness. The air bites, but not cruelly. It's the kind of cold that clears your thoughts, sharpens your senses. Your cloak flaps gently at your side, the wool already gathering frost at the edges. You tug it tighter and step out into the yard, your boots crunching on the frozen earth. The sheep stir at your approach, not alarmed, just aware. Their eyes blink in the low light. One lifts its head and snorts, breath fogging in the space between you. Another shifts slightly, the bell on its collar giving a faint, distant chime that floats into the air and vanishes. There's comfort in that sound, soft, hollow, familiar. You pass between them slowly, hand trailing over thick winter coats, matted and heavy with moisture. They smell as they always do, warm, musky, earthy. A mix of lanolin, hay, and old stone. It's a smell that clings to you, settles in your clothing, curls in the folds of your blanket at night. You don't mind. It's the scent of your life, of quiet labor, of cycles repeating with the seasons. You reach the fence and lean on it, both hands resting on the frozen rail. The wood is rough, old, the bark still clinging to places where it split in the frost. You made it yourself, log by log, that summer when the snows finally melted and the river ran strong with ice melt. That feels like another life now. Below, the valley is still lost in fog. Just the peaks poke through, dark and toothy against the paling sky. Somewhere down there is the road, barely more than a track, and beyond that, another village, and another. You've walked those roads. You've bartered in their markets. But always, you come back here, to the quiet, to the height. You hear a low, familiar whine. The dog. He steps out from behind the hut, stretching as he walks. His tail is low, ears flicked forward. He pads over the frost with quiet feet, pausing only to sniff at a patch of ground disturbed by hooves. When he reaches you, he sits, doesn't look at you, just looks out, like you, toward the hills. You crouch beside him and rub behind his ears. His coat is thick with dust and bristle. He leans into your touch just for a moment, then turns away and begins his slow patrol through the herd, checking, counting, knowing. The sky begins to change. A line of soft gold appears on the edge of the world. The first crow calls. One sound, distant and slow. Then silence again. Then the faint creak of trees waking from frost. You take a deep breath. The air is sharper now, drier. It smells of pine smoke, faint on the wind. Someone, somewhere, has already stirred their fire. A neighboring hut, miles away maybe. You'll see the column of smoke rise soon, thin and white against the slope. The sheep begin to move. One steps forward, another scratches at the hard earth. The quiet breaks, gently. Hooves scrape. A lamb calls out, high and questioning. You hear the rustle of hay in the barn behind the hut as the goats stir. The dog glances at you once, then returns to his work. You move back toward the door. You left the pot full last night. Inside the hut, the ashes are cool now, but with patience and breath, you'll coax a flame again. There's goat's milk in the bucket, stiff with cream. Dried herbs on the shelf, bread hard enough to split stone, but still sweet with last autumn's rye. You pause one last time at the threshold. Another morning, another day of the same, and yet never quite the same. You do not speak. There is no one to speak to, but still you think it silently as you step inside and lift the tinderbox. Let it be a good day. Inside the hut, the air has barely moved since you left it. It holds the cold like a breath held too long, still, tense, waiting. You close the door behind you with care, sliding the wooden bar back into place. It groans softly, like an old tree. The hearth is nothing now but a memory. Gray ash, the remains of a charred branch, a hollow where heat once lived. You kneel beside it, fingers stiff, and reach for the bundle of kindling under the bench. Dry twigs, bark curls, a twist of hay. It crackles in your hands. You smile, barely. That sound is always the beginning. You strike the steel. Once, twice. Sparks. A breath. You blow gently, not too hard. The hay smolders, glows. Another breath. Smoke rises in a thin blue thread. Then flame. Small. Flickering. Like a golden eye opening to the world. You feed it slowly. Twigs first, then the smaller branches. The fire grows with each gift, stretching upward, casting long shadows across the stone walls. The cold steps back, just slightly. You sit for a while beside it, watching. No hurry. Let the warmth take root. The room begins to change, not just in temperature, but in scent. Smoke and resin join the air, mingling with wool and straw. You feel it in your bones. That gentle shift from night to day, from sleep to waking. The firelight dances across the iron pot, the wooden shelves, the wool cloak hanging by the door. The hut breathes again. You move to the bucket and lift the lid. Goat's milk, fresh from yesterday. Thick cream floats on top, yellowish, sweet. You skim a bit into a cup, then pour the rest into the pot, setting it over the flame with practiced hands. It doesn't take long to warm. The milk quivers, tiny bubbles forming at the edges. You stir gently with a carved stick, scraping the bottom to keep it from catching. The smell is comforting. Warm milk, smoke, a touch of wood. You reach for the bread, yesterday's loaf, wrapped in cloth, hard, almost stone. But when you set it by the fire, it softens, just enough. You tear it carefully, dip a piece into the milk. It soaks, swells, steams. You eat slowly, quietly. Each bite is simple, but grounding. Bread, milk, warmth. Enough to carry you to midday. Outside, you can hear the dog barking, not alarm, just a bark to move the sheep. The sound is muffled through the stone, softened by snow and air and distance. A bird sings once. You glance toward the shutter. Light is stronger now. The sky has turned pale gold. You drink the last of the milk straight from the cup, wipe your hands on the hem of your cloak, and rinse the pot with a little snow you gathered yesterday and kept near the door. Cold water steams as it hits the iron. You swirl, pour it out onto the ashes, and set the pot aside. Then you sit again, just for a moment. Let the fire warm your fingers. Let your back stretch and settle. Let your eyes drift across the space you know so well. Every board, every tool, every dent in the clay wall. There's peace in knowing each thing has its place. Your knife hangs beside the door. Your walking staff leans near the fire. A pouch of dried herbs rests on the windowsill. Nettle, yarrow, thyme. The last of the winter stores. Enough for tea, for aches, for whatever comes. You take the cup, rinse it, dry it with a cloth stiff from use, and place it back on the shelf. Everything clean, everything done. You check the fire one last time, banking it carefully, adding one more log to carry it through the day. Then you stand. It's time. The sheep will want the upper pasture today, and there's a broken fence near the ridge that needs mending. Your hands will sting from the cold. Your boots will soak through by noon. But none of that matters now. For now, your belly is warm, your fire is lit, and the mountains are waiting. You step outside and pause. The air greets you not with noise or movement, but with something gentler. Stillness. A stillness so deep it feels alive. The cold is firm, but clean. It presses against your cheeks, slips beneath your collar, stings your fingertips even through the rough weave of your cloak. But it does not chase you. It simply reminds you that you are small and the mountain is not. Above, the sky holds its breath. It is not yet day, not quite night. The light is more suggestion than substance, a pale, smoky glow hanging over the ridges, softening every edge, smudging every shadow. Even the peaks look different now, less jagged, more distant, like drawings in charcoal, not stone. You do not speak. No one does at this hour. But still, the mountain speaks, not loudly, not in words, but in the way ancient things do, with rhythm, with pressure, with sound too soft to name. You hear a pop deep in the woods beyond the pasture, a tree shifting in the frost, its fibers expanding as the ground warms by a single degree. Then a creak, long and drawn out like a door opening somewhere behind the clouds. One branch releases a clump of snow. It lands on another with a soft whump, then slides, falling to the forest floor below in silence. Closer by, one of the ewes moves in her sleep. Her wool brushes against the frozen grass with a sound like rough paper. She exhales, long and low. The breath steams and drifts, vanishing as quickly as it came. Then another noise, a faint trickle. Meltwater, somewhere near, sliding over rock, cold and clear. The sound of movement that has no hurry. It reminds you of time as it flows up here, patient, uneven, always forward. You sit on a stone, the same one you've used for years, its surface smoothed by your weight, the frost thinly crusted over its edge. The sheep are quiet behind you. No bells this morning. You took them off yesterday, before the storm. You like this better anyway. No clatter, just wool, breath, and the earth itself. Above, a single bird cries. Not a call, not a melody, just a sound. A crack across the silence. Then nothing. It does not sing again. And yet the world has changed. A ripple has moved through the stillness, as if the cry opened something. The mist in the valley seems to shift. The trees stop holding their breath. A few branches quiver, not with wind, but with readiness. The silence is no longer emptiness. It's expectation. You look at the ridgeline. The sun is coming. You can't see it yet, but the edge of the rock is glowing, just faintly. A line of silver, as if the stones themselves have caught fire from within. You draw your cloak tighter and pull your knees to your chest. You can feel the ground warming through the soles of your boots, just a little. The frost is softening, the first thaw, a shift not in season, but in breath. Far off, a raven calls, low and deliberate. You don't answer. No one does. But it feels like something has been acknowledged. This moment, this single slice of the world before the day begins, is the one you treasure most. It asks nothing. It expects nothing. It just allows you to be. No tasks yet. No counting sheep. No watching the sky for signs of weather. Not yet. Just this. Cold stones beneath you. Damp wool in the air. The hush before birdsong. The creak of ancient wood. And a mountain, exhaling slowly through every breath you take. You rise slowly from the stone near the ridge, your knees complaining, your back unfolding like old parchment. The morning has changed since you first stepped outside. What was once only silver mist and shadow has become a world of subtle shapes and softened color. The light is still gentle, filtered through frost, drawn out by patience, but it's enough now to see the land and the creatures that call it home. The flock is beginning to stir. You walk downhill with slow steps, your staff tapping occasionally against a buried stone. Not for balance, just rhythm. The sheep are scattered in loose clumps across the lower slope, some still lying in hollows pressed into the grass, others already up, heads bowed, searching for green beneath the brittle frost. Their breath drifts like smoke, rising in soft puffs, caught briefly in the early light. There's no chaos, no clamor. The morning here doesn't break. It unfolds, gently, deliberately. You begin the check. It's not a list. You don't carry names in your head, not exactly. But you know them all, by gait, by shape, by the sound of their breath, or the tilt of a horn. You move through them silently, running your hand along a familiar back, pausing by a favored ewe, noting how she stands, how she breathes. You crouch beside one of the older rams and press your palm just above his hoof, checking for heat, for stiffness. He doesn't flinch. That's a good sign. The dog trots ahead of you, his body low, his eyes alert but calm. He moves like water through the flock, nudging here, guiding there, gently pressing the outliers inward without so much as a bark. He doesn't need command. He knows his work. He was born to it. Your boots leave dark prints in the frost. You step over a fallen branch, half buried in the grass, and make your way to the far edge of the pasture. This is where the stones are sharper, where the ground drops suddenly into a thicket of dry shrubs and hidden crevices. It's a place a lamb could vanish into. It's always here that you pay the most attention. And there, right on cue, one has wandered too far. You see her? A small white shape against the darker brush. She's standing still but tense, unsure of the way back. You whistle softly, and the dog responds before the sound has even faded. He moves wide, slow and low, circling around without haste. The lamb watches him, then turns and steps carefully back toward the flock, her steps light but uncertain. As she nears the others, her tension melts, and she lowers her head to graze. The dog returns to your side, tail swaying once, then still. You crouch beside the lamb when you reach her. Just for a moment. You place your hand gently on her shoulder. She's warm beneath your palm, small but healthy. Her eyes are clear, and her legs are steady. You whisper nothing in particular, just a sound, just presence. That's enough. You move on. One by one, you check them, not always touching, not always approaching, but watching. A limp, a cough, a swollen eye. These are the things you look for. Signs spoken in silence, warnings hidden in routine. You find none today. One of the larger ewes shifts her weight with a grunt, turns, and walks slowly across the slope. Her bell is missing. The leather snapped in the night, likely caught on a low branch. You make note of it. You'll replace it before sundown. The light is stronger now. It paints gold along the edges of the rocks, catches in the frost, still clinging to the taller grass. You lift your eyes to the ridge. The sun hasn't yet cleared it fully, but it's close. Soon the warmth will follow. Not heat, not yet, but enough to soften the world. You return to the center of the flock and pause. They're calm now. Some lie down again, chewing slowly. Others nuzzle into the grass, persistent in their quiet search. A few lambs chase each other in slow circles, their thin legs skimming over the earth, hooves scattering pebbles like chimes. You take it all in. The stillness, the soft sounds of breath and wool, the faint rattle of stones disturbed underfoot, the hush of a world that hasn't yet remembered to be loud. You reach the far fence, old, but still standing. You press your hand against the wood. It's cold, but dry. The lashings held. Your work from last week has not been undone by wind or storm. That too is part of your check. Not just the sheep, but the land itself. The fences, the stones, the places where man and nature meet and argue quietly about what belongs. You stand there a while longer, your hand on the rail, your eyes drifting over the slope. This is not inspection. This is familiarity. This is care. And then a sound, soft where regular. Behind you, hoofbeats. You turn and one of the ewes approaches. Not urgently, just walking. Her breath flares in the light. She stops beside you and stares. For a long while, you both remain like that. Two creatures. No words. No need. You reach out and touch her forehead gently, then lower your hand. The The dog sits beside you now, his chest rising and falling in slow rhythm. He looks at you. You nod. He closes his eyes. You've seen them all. You've touched enough backs, counted enough shadows. The flock is whole, and for today, that is enough. You return to the hut with the slow, steady rhythm of someone whose work is never urgent, but always important. The dog stays behind with the flock. He knows his role, and so do they. The sheep have settled, chewing, shifting, sighing. The hillside holds them now, and they will hold until the sun has climbed higher. Your boots thud softly against the frozen earth as you approach the door. A soft creak of wood greets your hand. Inside, the air is warmer than you expected. Not warm, no, but less sharp. The fire has survived. A nest of glowing coals remains in the hearth, like a secret tucked in ash. You crouch beside it and stir the embers gently. They breathe in, glow brighter. You add 2 small sticks, then a thicker one. In moments, the flame returns, flickering, reaching. The room accepts the light. Shadows draw back from corners, revealing the curve of the bench, the line of a hanging cloak, the dull sheen of a clay jar near the wall. You sit beside the fire, your hands outstretched, your palms opening slowly like thawing leaves. You let the heat reach you, not just your fingers, but your thoughts. Then, without a word, you reach for the cloth bundle on the shelf. Inside, what passes for breakfast in a place like this. A loaf of dark bread, dense and cracked. A wedge of goat's cheese, wrapped in waxed bark. And beside it, in a jug tucked carefully behind the beam where frost can't reach, cold, clear water drawn yesterday from the stream. You break the bread with your hands. No need for a knife. The crust is tough, the inside firm, slightly sour. You chew slowly. There is no sweetness in it, just grain, earth, smoke. It tastes like work. It tastes like patience. The cheese is harder than it was a week ago. You cut it with the edge of your blade, a small crooked piece. Salt crystals sparkle along the edge. You place it on the bread, press the two together, and take another bite. There is no feast here, no honey, no fruit, just food that fills and stays. You drink the water in small swallows. It tastes of snowmelt and stone. It tastes like the mountain itself, reduced to something you can hold. You eat in silence, not because you must, but because the silence is good company. It sits with you like an old friend, saying nothing, needing nothing, just present. The fire crackles softly. Your eyes drift to the walls, to the wooden beam where you've marked seasons with notches, to the hanging bag of dried herbs, to the worn spot on the bench where you always rest your cup. Everything here has its place, not perfect, but known. You finish your meal with the final piece of bread. It crumbles slightly in your fingers. You let the crumbs fall to the floor. Tomorrow they'll be swept, or eaten, or simply vanish into the dust. You sit back and rest your hands on your knees. Your stomach isn't full, not in the way city folk might imagine fullness, but it's satisfied. That's enough. You are warm, fed, awake, alive. Outside, the dog barks once. Not alarm, just a note. Like a bell ringing to mark the hour. The sheep answer with a few scattered bleats. A wind begins to pick up along the eaves. You hear it moving through the pine like breath through a reed. The day has begun. You pour the last of the water into your cup, swirl it once and drink. It's colder now, sharper, but clean. Then you rise, fold the cloth, place it back on the shelf. There will be more work soon. A fence to mend near the southern slope, kindling to gather before the next frost, salve to rub on the cracked hoof of the old ram near the birch stump. But not yet. Not in this moment. In this moment, you've eaten. And in a shepherd's world, Sometimes that is the first and finest piece of the day. The flock is calm. The light has softened into a pale golden wash, and the morning has fully opened its eyes. You step outside once more, not out of habit, but out of quiet intention, the kind that comes from knowing your place in the rhythm of the day. Today is a walking day. Not all days are. Some are for staying still, for mending rope or repairing the thatch on the roof, or cutting firewood in the hush of the pine wood. But some days, like this one, the land calls you forward. You take your staff from the wall. The wood is dark, smooth where your hand has worn it, nicked in places where stone and time have left their mark. You turn it once in your palm, the weight familiar, like an old thought. Then you start walking. The path begins not with a gate or a sign, but with memory. The earth has learned your steps, just as you have learned its stones. The slope rises gently at first, and the ground is soft with last night's thaw. Your boots leave shallow prints behind you, a quiet trail, one that will vanish by evening. The dog walks ahead, light-footed, nose close to the soil. He doesn't wander, not really. He moves with you, just farther out, the way clouds move ahead of the wind. Beneath your feet the path changes. Grass gives way to stone, flat, broad plates of rock, some smooth, some cracked. You feel each shift through the soles of your boots. You know this trail, not with your eyes but with your legs. Each rise, each bend, each ridge where the lichen spreads like old frost. You've walked this path in snow, in rain, in the weight of summer heat and the sharpness of winter wind. Some stones tilt slightly under your step, loose at the edges. Others ring faintly when struck just right, a hollow tone like bone under water. One slab near the ridge is split down the center, a hairline fracture that's grown slowly for years. You always step to the left of it, not because it's dangerous, but because that's how you were taught, by an older shepherd, long gone now, who told you the mountain remembers every step, and you believed him. The wind picks up as you climb, and the world around you begins to open. Behind you, the hut becomes smaller, nestled against the curve of the hillside. The sheep are dots now, white and gray and moving, barely more than breath on the slope. Ahead, the path snakes between leaning stones, half buried and moss-covered, like teeth of something ancient. You reach the place where the trees give way to rock entirely. Here, the path is narrow, edged by drop-offs and thick with silence. You walk slowly, your staff tapping out a soft rhythm. The dog pauses here and waits, not out of fear, but out of shared respect. You cross together. The stones here are old, older than your memory, older than the stories your grandfather told beside the hearth. Some are etched with cracks that look like writing. Others bear the marks of water long gone. Shallow pools now dry, worn smooth by time and cold. Your boots scrape lightly as you walk. Each step echoes slightly, not loudly, just enough to remind you of the height, of the weight of air below your feet. One misstep wouldn't mean disaster, not today, not here. But the thought of falling stays with you anyway, not as fear, just awareness. You pause at a flat rise where the land levels briefly. Here, you sit, not because you're tired, but because the world is worth looking at. Below you, the valley stretches wide, layered in shadow and mist. Pines rise in steady lines, and the river cuts a silver thread through the middle, half covered in snowmelt and shadow. The sun touches only the highest tips, gold on green, light on frost. The dog lies beside you, panting gently, eyes always scanning. He rests his head on his paws, ears twitching now and then. A bird calls from below, high, sweet, then silent. You run your hand along the rock beneath you. It's cold, still holding the memory of night, but dry. There's a single tuft of grass growing from a crack near your foot, defiant and green. You watch it move as the wind brushes past. Then you stand, slowly, and resume your walk. The path leads upward again, toward a ridge where snow still sleeps in the crevices. You'll turn back before then. There's no need to go higher today. Not unless the sheep do. But you walk a little farther anyway. Because sometimes your legs need to move, your eyes need to widen, and your feet need to remember that you're not trapped on earth. You walk upon it. Up here, the sky is not just above you. It is around you. It presses close to your skin, rests on your shoulders, speaks to you in cold breath and shifting light. And no matter how many mornings you've walked these slopes, you never stop listening to it. You were raised to believe the land was constant and the weather was a mood. But here in the high country, you learn the opposite. The land may hold steady, but the sky decides everything. You feel it long before it arrives. A change in the wind. Not stronger, just different. A new scent on the air. Something metallic and wet. You pause in your steps. Tilt your head. The dog stops too, ears forward. Neither of you make a sound. There's a hush in the trees. The sun, which moments ago touched the stones with gold, has dimmed. Not vanished, just dulled. As if seen through glass smeared with breath. You look up. The clouds have thickened, closing like a fist around the light. No thunder, no shadow, just a weight, growing. Mountain weather does not always come in with fury. Sometimes it arrives on tiptoe. Mist first, then silence. Then rain you only hear once it's already on your shoulders. You've seen it turn from clear blue to storm black in the space of a single breath. You've stood in hail before noon and sun by evening. You've watched fog pour down from the ridge like water spilled from a bowl. You've learned not to argue with any of it. Today it comes slowly, a subtle shift. The temperature drops, not sharply, gradually, like a candle burning out. You feel it on your hands first. The air around your fingers cools. Your breath becomes visible again, curling from your mouth in soft clouds. The dog licks his nose and glances toward the west. That's where it will come from. It always does. You pull your cloak tighter. This path, which was dry an hour ago, now darkens beneath your feet. Spots of moisture blooming like ink on parchment. You reach down and brush your fingers over a stone. It's slick. Rain. Light and fine. Almost invisible, but real. You quicken your pace, but not with panic. Just understanding. You know how quickly the rocks grow treacherous. How wet wool turns heavy. How wind through damp clothes finds every seam in your skin. The sky darkens further. The light becomes the color of pewter, dull, flat, uncertain. You hear the first whisper of wind through the valley, moving the tops of the pines in slow waves. It sounds like water, though nothing flows. Still, no thunder, no lightning, just a steady deepening of gray. And then the fog comes, not drifting, not hesitant, but sudden. One moment you can see the tree line. The next, it's gone. The hills vanish in folds of silver. The air grows thick. Sound changes. Your footsteps are muffled. The dog becomes a shadow just a few steps ahead. You slow down again. In this white world, the ground is your only guide. You know the slope, the tilt of each rock, the turn near the bent tree. You trust your body to remember what your eyes no longer see. You feel small now, not in fear, in scale. The mountain is not angry. It is simply vast, and you are a moving dot upon its ribs. Moisture clings to your beard, to your lashes. Your cloak grows heavy. Your hair dampens at the temples. The dog returns to your side, close now, leaning gently against your leg as if to ask, "Here? Stop?" You nod, not because the storm is here, but because it will be. You crouch beneath an outcrop of stone, a low-angled ledge worn smooth by centuries of wind. It's not shelter, not truly, but it holds the worst of the weather off your back. You rest your staff against the rock, pull the cloak over your knees, and wait. And the mountain waits with you. The wind rises slowly. The fog swirls and thickens, turning the world into milk and motion. The rain stays light, but persistent. Your breath now sounds louder than the storm. Your heart beats steadier than the trees. You are soaked, and still, you are calm. Because this is how it goes. Sometimes the mountain gives you clear skies, warm stone, a full view of the valley. And sometimes it folds in on itself, hiding all its beauty behind gray walls and soft water. It offers nothing. It promises nothing. You do not ask it to change. You do not curse it. You wait. Because you have learned. The mountain is not cruel. It is simply itself. And that is enough. By now, the day has settled into its own rhythm. Not fast, not slow, just steady. The kind of rhythm that doesn't need to be planned. It simply happens. The sheep have spread out across the upper slope, noses down, wool glistening faintly with the memory of morning mist. Some chew with quiet dedication. Others wander a few steps, pause, wander again. They don't move with urgency. Sheep rarely do. But their movements are purposeful, if slow. A pattern you've come to know not just by sight, but in your bones. There's something ancient in the way they graze. They choose carefully, not randomly. Grass that's been shaded, moss between stones, stalks that lean at just the right angle. A ewe will nudge a tuft once, twice, sniff, then turn away without a bite. Minutes later, another will eat from the same spot, as if she's waited for the flavor to change. And so it goes. The flock moves like a slow wave, not in straight lines, but in bends and curls, expanding, contracting. When one stops, others pause. When one climbs, others follow. You don't guide them, not really. You just watch. Let the rhythm speak for itself. And beside you, always, is the dog. He does not bark unless he must. He does not chase unless you ask him. His energy is held low and ready, coiled, but calm. His ears flick with every shift of wind. His eyes scan every corner of the slope, even as he lies curled at your feet. You glance at him. He glances back. That's enough. You've worked together for years now, long enough that he knows what you mean without words. Sometimes even before you mean it. You shift your weight. The dog stands. You tilt your chin toward a stray lamb near the far edge of the flock. The dog moves. Quiet, fast, low to the ground. No sound but the faint click of nails on rock. He arcs around wide, slow, steady, never panicking the herd, never rushing the lamb. Just pressure, just presence. The lamb hesitates, turns, joins the others again, and the dog returns to you, tail swaying once, then still. You scratch the fur behind his ear and he leans into it. Not for affection, not exactly, just recognition. The sheep too have learned him. They no longer fear. They understand his place in the story. He is boundary. He is reminder. He is order. You watch one ewe nudge her lamb gently aside to reach a patch of grass. The lamb bleats once, offended, but recovers quickly, turning to nuzzle its mother's flank. Another pair lies down together, a tangle of limbs and wool, breathing as one. These moments pass without ceremony, no fanfare, no witness but the sky and your steady gaze. The wind picks up slightly, brushing through the tall grass. The sheep adjust as one. lowering heads, angling bodies, stepping into the breeze. You see it all and mark it quietly. They sense the change before the sky shows it. They always do. Your dog shifts beside you again, ears raised, nose lifted. You both feel it. Weather moving. Not yet here, but somewhere just beyond the ridge. You whistle softly, 2 notes. The dog rises and begins to circle the flock. Not fast, just enough to remind them. Time to stay close. Time to draw inward. A few sheep lift their heads. One begins to move. The others follow. A slow convergence. A gentle folding inward. You walk among them, your staff in one hand, your other trailing across the curve of woolen backs. They part around you like water around stone. A few pause, chewing, watching you pass. One old ewe blinks slowly and leans her weight into your palm for the briefest moment. Then the wind shifts, and just like that, the sheep begin to move downhill, not all at once, not hurried, but with a knowing that is deeper than training. You don't call, you don't guide, you walk. The dog walks, the flock follows, and in that long, slow line of wool and breath and steady hooves, you feel something like grace. The day has shifted, not ended, not yet, but bent slightly toward stillness. The light is golden now, softer than it was at midday, stretched longer across the slope. The sheep are resting, chewing in silence or lying in clusters, their eyes half closed. The wind has calmed. It is a good time for quiet work. You sit just outside the hut, where the last rays of sun warm the stone beneath you. Your back rests against the wooden wall, and the tools are already gathered. A needle, thick and curved, a small pair of iron shears, a spool of wax thread, a bit of boiled leather, and your hands. The boots are first. You lift one onto your knee. The leather is dry at the heel, cracked at the fold where it bends again and again with every step. You run your fingers over the damage, not hurried, not critical. You know this boot well. You've walked in it through snow and ash, over rock, through creek beds. Its seams have split like old bark, the stitching nearly gone on the right side, but the sole still holds. The leather is thick, it can be saved. You thread the needle slowly. The waxed string is rough, fibrous. You pull it through with care, letting it slide between your fingers with that faint, sticky resistance. You lean closer to the boot, tilting it to catch the light, and push the needle through the side seam. It resists, just a little. You press harder, it passes through, and the repair begins, one stitch at a time. You don't rush. Each loop is careful, tight. Your thumb presses the leather closed while the needle weaves in and out, tracing the line like a slow breath. The wind picks up once, brushes against your face, then leaves again. The fire inside the hut crackles softly. The world holds still. You pause once to stretch your hand. The joints crack gently, not in pain, just fatigue. You flex your fingers and begin again. The boot takes shape beneath your touch, the gap disappearing, closed with dark thread like a healed wound. When it's done, you run your thumb across the seam, smooth, strong. You nod to yourself, not proudly, but with quiet agreement. Then you set the boot aside and lift the second. It is worse. The toe is nearly worn through. The leather thinned, softening with each step until it feels more like cloth than hide. You know this repair won't last forever, but you also know it doesn't need to. It needs to hold until the next thaw, until the next barter, until you can trade for better. You cut a patch from the boiled leather, thick and dark, and hold it to the toe. It fits well enough. You press it flat, mark the edges with the back of the needle, then begin stitching again. The sheep are quiet behind you. You hear them moving now and then, a soft bleat, a nudge, the clatter of a horn against a rock. The dog lies nearby, watching the hill, tail curled over his nose. He blinks slowly in the light. You finish the patch, tie off the thread, clip the end. Then you reach for the cloak. It's hanging on the peg, stiff with dust, smelling of ash and rain and sheep. The hem is frayed. A tear runs just below the shoulder, not wide, but growing. You pull it over your lap and run your fingers along the fabric. The wool is coarse but strong. You've worn this cloak for years. In snow, in sun, in grief, in rest. Its weight is familiar. You patch it, too. Not beautifully, but well. Each stitch becomes part of the history of the cloth. You remember where you tore it, climbing after a lost ewe near the edge of the southern pass. You slipped on the shale, landed hard. The sheep was fine. You weren't hurt, but the cloak ripped on a jagged rock, and it's lived with that wound ever since. Until now. You knot the thread. Pull it tight. Snip the excess. When the work is done, you gather the tools, wrap them in a cloth, and tuck them into the box beneath the bench inside. You fold the cloak and set it near the hearth. The boots you place by the door, where the heat will reach them and dry the fresh stitching. Then you wash your hands in the basin near the shutter. The water is cold. It bites, but it wakes your skin. You shake your fingers dry, then sit by the fire once more. Your hands ache, not deeply, but honestly. You look down at them, scarred, scratched, weathered. These are not the hands of a builder, or a hunter, or a craftsman. They are the hands of a keeper, a patcher, a holder of things that fray slowly over time. Things like wool, things like boots, things like days. The evening is not yet near, but the light has changed. It leans now, coming through the shutter at a softer angle, painting the stone floor in amber lines. The flock is calm. The dog has curled into himself near the hearth, and the air inside the hut carries that stillness only known in mid-afternoon, when the day is tired but not finished. It is time to make cheese, not because it's a ritual, not because the calendar says so, but because the milk cannot wait. You rise slowly from the bench and lift the pail. It's heavy, filled with the morning's milking, white and thick, still holding the warmth of the goat's body. The surface quivers as you carry it closer to the hearth, careful not to spill. Every drop matters. You've known hunger. You don't waste. You place the pot over the flame. The fire is low now, steady. You've already banked it with small logs and fed it enough kindling to last until dusk. The heat rises slow and even, licking the bottom of the copper pot, whispering along its sides. You crouch beside it, watching. There is no rush. You stir gently with a long wooden paddle, carved smooth over years of use. It fits your hand. The motion is slow, clockwise. The milk stirs like a quiet river, not boiling, not yet, just warming. You listen closely for the faint shift in sound, that change from silence to hush when the edges begin to shiver. You smell it first, that delicate sweetness of warming cream, the scent of grass and animal, of field and breath. The whole hut fills with it. It is not sharp, like baking bread, nor deep, like meat. It is round, software honest. When the heat is right, you stop stirring. You reach for the cloth bundle tied with string, your rennet. You made it yourself last spring, from the dried stomach of a young lamb, soaked and strained, then stored in a cool jar with salt and herb. There are simpler ways you've heard, store-bought tablets, powdered shortcuts. But this is older. This is real. You add a few drops into the pot, then you wait. The fire does the rest. You don't watch every moment. You don't need to. You've done this hundreds of times. You know when it's time not by clock, but by feel. While it rests, you busy your hands. You clean the paddle. You sweep the corner near the door. You sit by the shutter and watch the clouds gather on the ridge, slow-moving, purple-edged, like bruises pressed into sky. When you return, the milk is no longer milk. It has become something else. Curds and whey. You smile softly. You take your knife, flat-bladed, wide, and begin to cut the curd, not sharply, not randomly, in long, slow lines, first one way, then across. The curd splits with barely a sound, parting under your hand. It is soft, warm, obedient. You stir gently again, letting the pieces move, letting them know what comes next. You lift the pot from the flame and set it aside. You reach for the cheesecloth, an old square of thin linen, boiled and dried 100 times. You drape it into the draining basket, then begin to scoop. The curds fall into the cloth with wet sounds, not heavy, but certain. You fill the cloth slowly, folding it up, tying the ends into a knot. Then you hang it from the hook near the fire, letting the whey drip into a second pot below. It begins slowly, a single drop, then another, then a steady rhythm. You sit back. You wipe your hands on your apron. The scent of warm cheese lingers on your skin. You don't mind. It's the smell of survival. Outside, the sky continues its slow descent into dusk. The color is deeper now, the lines of the mountains more defined, the shadows longer. You watch the cheese drip. You don't rush it. Time thickens here, just like the curd, one drop at a time. Later, you'll salt it, press it, shape it into rounds and place it on the shelf in the cellar, beside last week's wheel, beside the older ones you're saving for winter. But not now. Now, it hangs. Now, it breathes. Now, it becomes. You sit in the silence of the hut, the soft drip of whey, the whisper of flame, the low breath of the dog asleep by your feet. And you feel for a moment like everything in the world has shape. Not perfect, but whole and warm. Evening settles slowly, like a heavy cloak folded over the shoulders of the land. The sheep are quiet now, bellies full, breath even. The dog lies curled in his usual place near the door, nose tucked under his paw, ears twitching only when the wind shifts outside. The fire crackles low. Its heat reaches only a few feet into the room, but it's enough. You sit on the bench near the wall, legs stretched out, a small cup in your hand, something warm, steeped with herbs dried last summer. Outside, the dark grows thicker. The stars haven't yet shown themselves, but you know they're waiting. And with that waiting, memory arrives. This is the hour for stories, not loud ones. Not the kind that need laughter or applause. These stories come quiet, in pieces, in half-remembered phrases passed from one shepherd's mouth to another's ear, across hillsides and fire pits, through mist and years. You speak them without meaning to. You carry them whether you believe them or not. You remember your grandfather, his voice gravel soft, his hands always busy with wool or rope, his words slow as smoke. He told stories not for entertainment, but like someone teaching you the shape of the world. He told you about the white sheep that never cast a shadow. If you see it, he'd said, don't follow. It walks between worlds. He told you about the dog that once barked a word. Just once. One word. No one knew which. No one heard it twice. But the shepherd who owned that dog lived to be 99 and never once lost a lamb. He told you about the woman in red who wanders the high path in winter, barefoot, humming. If you offer her bread, she gives you sleep without dreams. If you speak to her, she vanishes. And then there are the stories not of magic, but of men. Of the shepherd who lost half his flock in a storm, but stayed with the last one, wrapped around it in snow. And when they found him days later, he was frozen stiff, but the lamb was alive. Of the boy who fell from the cliff chasing a goat, only to land in a thicket so dense it held him like a net. He climbed out laughing, said the goat had looked back, and winked. Of the old man who never spoke during daylight but would whisper long conversations into the ears of sheep after dusk. They listen better, he'd say. And they never argue. You've told some stories of your own, though you don't always know you're doing it. Like the night lightning split the tree above your hut, and the fire danced through the branches but never touched your roof. Or the time the dog disappeared for 2 full days and came back soaked in mud with a piece of someone else's wool tied to his leg. You never learned whose. You remember the way these tales feel in the air, not like lessons, not like lies. Just warmth passed between people who live close to the wind, to the stone, to the silence. Sometimes they're spoken aloud, around a shared flask or a broken wheel. 2 figures crouched under the same bit of canvas as hail hammers the ground, a voice cutting through the sound. You ever hear the one about, but sometimes they come without sound at all. A glance between 2 shepherds passing on the trail, a nod, a half smile, as if saying, yes, I've seen that too, or something like it, or maybe just close enough to believe. And on rare nights like this, you speak to the fire, not with full stories, but pieces, a phrase, a name, the memory of someone who once showed you how to set a broken fence using only bark and sheep gut string. You speak it softly. Maybe no one hears, but that's not the point. These stories are not for keeping. They are for carrying, like stones in your pocket, like charms carved from bone, like whistles made of ash wood that only blow true in the high wind. You sit a while longer, staring into the flame, the cup warm in your hands. The stories settle around you, some yours, some borrowed, some from people who never had names, just call signs and habits and the kind of hands that never forgot how to lift a lamb by its belly and set it down gentle. You whisper one more line, not for anyone but the fire. And outside, in the dark, the wind carries it farther than you'll ever know. The sheep are grazing low today. The valley holds them well, open and wide, with enough grass and silence to keep them satisfied. The dog is with them, resting in a patch of sun between 2 stones, his eyes watching, but his breath slow. The world doesn't need you there just now. And so you go to the trees. The slope behind your hut leads upward into the edge of the forest, not the deep kind, not ancient or vast, but thick enough to hold coolness even in the warm months and dark enough for shadows to linger past midday. It's a place you know well, though it changes with the seasons. Paths that were dry are now slick with moss. Stones once visible now hide under fern and creeping weed. You carry a cloth pouch in one hand, nothing else, no knife, no basket, just your fingers and your eyes and the slow step of someone who knows they are not in a hurry. The trees greet you with scent first, damp bark, crushed pine, the faint spice of decay, not rot, but return, leaves breaking down into soil, mushrooms releasing what they no longer need, old roots sighing beneath the weight of another year. You breathe in and feel yourself lower, not physically, not downward, but inward. The way breath draws you to your own center. The forest does that. You pass the split birch and duck beneath the hanging arm of the hawthorn. The air cools, light turns green. Birdsong flickers above you, like bits of falling paper, faint, irregular, drifting between the branches. You pause by a stump and run your hand over the top. It's soft with age, spongy with water, ringed with tiny shoots of moss. You know what you've come for. Not everything, just enough. A few sprigs of yarrow if they're up. Maybe some coltsfoot if the light has reached that bend in the hill. And nettle, always nettle, for joints, for tea, for the salves that keep your hands from splitting when the winter winds return. You find the yarrow near the stone where the fox sleeps. You don't see the fox, but you know his scent, musky and sharp, lingering in the low grass. The yarrow stands clean and proud, its leaves like feathers, its buds just beginning to open. You bend carefully, speak a quiet word, not for the plant, perhaps, but for the space it leaves behind, and pluck 3 stems. You lay them in your pouch gently, fold the cloth, move on. You find the nettle farther up, where the ground dips and the damp holds longer. The leaves are bright, the stems thick. You roll your sleeves. You've been stung before, but you know how to hold it. Fingers beneath the leaf, sharp pull, quick motion. It burns, yes, but the burn is honest. You gather what you need, no more, and wrap them inside another piece of cloth. Coltsfoot comes last, hidden beneath the rise where the path bends left, but deer walk right. You spot it by shape alone. Those wide, soft leaves like rounded hands. You crouch, feel the soil, loose and damp, and pick just enough for drying, and then you sit, because that too is part of it. You find a flat stone still warm from filtered sun and rest your back against the trunk of a tree that's older than you'll ever be. The pouch rests beside you. The leaves inside still smell like living things. You don't press them. You don't squeeze. You let them breathe. Above you, a squirrel chatters. Farther off, a branch snaps, likely deer or boar or something else that knows you're here but doesn't mind. The forest doesn't reject your presence, but it doesn't bend around you either. You are not the center here. Just one more movement among many, and you like it that way. You reach down and press your palm against the earth. Cool, firm alive. You sit longer than you mean to. The breeze moves slowly here. The light shifts so gradually you don't notice until you look up and find the shadows have moved. The dog barks once, distant. A signal, a reminder. You rise. You take one last look at the green, the trees, the moss, the places where roots break stone and keep growing. You whisper thanks, not loud, not certain, not religious, just thanks. Then you walk home, and the path carries you back with leaves in your pocket and stillness in your breath. The ground is soft today, the kind of softness that comes after a slow rain, when the earth hasn't yet decided if it will dry or sink deeper into itself. Your boots leave full prints with every step, edges clean and dark, like stamps in wet leather. You walk carefully, not to stay dry, but to stay aware. This is when the mountain speaks, not loudly, but clearly for those who know how to listen. And most of its voice, on days like this, is written in tracks. You follow the old sheep path along the bend of the lower slope, past the outcrop of stone where the lichen grows thick. You're not out to hunt. You're not even searching for anything in particular. But the earth shows its stories after rain, and you've learned to read them like a shepherd reads the sky. There, by the edge of a puddle, in a patch of exposed clay, a single print, split hoof, deep toe mark, narrow, deer. You crouch beside it, rest your staff against your knee, and study the shape. Not fresh, but not yet collapsed. Probably early morning, likely alone. You imagine her moving through the mist, ears flicking, the delicate weight of her step pressing just enough to leave this behind. You look up, scan the trees. She's not here now, but she was. You walk on. Another few steps, and the trail becomes crowded. Small prints. 4 toes, tiny claws. crisscrossing like tangled threads. You smile. Fox, maybe more than one. Likely kits, following a parent. You see where they paused, where the mud is scuffed from turning, the back print overlaying the front, the energy in the motion still visible. They move with purpose, but not direction. You move with neither, just presence. A little farther up, the ground darkens again, and this time, the print is different. Round, broad, 5 wide toes, no claws, bare. You don't tense, you don't stop breathing. It's old, at least a day, but it's clear, heavy. The heel pressed deep, the edge sharp. You crouch again and place your hand beside it. Almost the same size. Almost. You don't feel fear. You feel humbled. The mountain holds others. Bigger, stronger, older. The bear isn't your enemy. He doesn't need to be. You don't leave food out. You don't walk blind. And so far, he has passed you by like you're nothing more than a scent in the wind. You rise and walk again, softer now. Your eyes catch another pattern, 2 dots, side by side, followed by a narrow drag mark, then 2 more, and again. Almost invisible, but there. Weasel. The long body makes those signs. You imagine it darting low between the rocks, nose twitching, tail flicking behind like a banner. You've never caught one, but you've seen them. Red eyes in the firelight. Bright, quick, curious, watching. You pause by a flat rock where the moss gives way to soil, and there, clear, fresh, bird tracks. 3 forward toes, 1 behind, sharp, intentional. You can't tell what bird. Maybe crow, maybe something smaller. You follow the trail for only a few steps before it vanishes in the underbrush. So many stories, so many ghosts. You're surrounded by lives that cross yours only in silence, their presence shown not in fur or feather, but in marks left behind, and only when the earth is soft enough to accept them. You pass beneath a leaning pine. Its branches drip slowly from the rain. You catch a droplet on your sleeve without meaning to. The forest smells sharp, resin, wet bark, cold stone. You kneel again near a shallow depression where water has begun to gather. More prints here, overlapping, layered, old and new. A rabbit's leap, a fox's pursuit, a squirrel's pause, and maybe, just maybe, a wildcat's wide step. Blurred at the edges but wide, round, careful. All of them here, all of them passing, all of them gone. You rest for a moment on your heels, not thinking, just listening. There's a sound in the trees, not close, not far. A breaking twig, a breath, then silence again. You don't move. Whatever it is, it knows you're here, just as you know it is. And in that quiet awareness, there is respect. You rise. The trail continues. The prints grow fewer. The earth firms underfoot. The story fades, not erased, just ended. The world returns to stillness, as if nothing ever passed through. But you know better. You have seen the bear, the fox, the deer, the bird, the weasel, the unseen. You have walked where they walked, felt the weight of their movement beneath your boots, and left no mark of your own. And somehow, that feels right. The sound comes first, faint, far off, and woven into the wind. It is not loud, not sharp, more like a whisper that rises from the earth itself, a soft ripple of sound spreading outward. It carries, low and hollow, and for a moment, you wonder if you heard it at all. But then it comes again, a bell, not near, but not far either, a single, steady toll. Then silence. You stop walking, not out of urgency, but out of instinct. You listen. The earth holds its breath. The wind holds it too. Only the sheep shift, nudging the grass, their bells sounding in contrast, sharp against the backdrop of the distant chime. The sound lingers. It rolls over the landscape like fog, filling the space between the trees, between the rocks. You glance toward the ridge, toward the place where the valley curves, where you know the village lies, unseen but always there. The bell is closer now, its echo ringing through the stillness, faint but clear. It has a tone you know well. You cannot place it, but it is familiar. Not a call to arms, not an alarm, not a greeting either. Just a single note, hanging in the air like a question unanswered. You listen, standing still, the cold air filling your lungs, the sound weaving through you. Somewhere, far beyond the trees, beyond the ridge, beyond the village that only whispers its presence from the distance, the bell tolls again. A deep, steady sound, and for a moment, you feel the weight of it in your chest. It reaches you like an old memory, the kind that never really fades, the kind that sits with you and does not need words. It is a signal, a message passed down across miles, stretching far beyond the hills and valleys that define the edge of your world. It speaks of something simple, something distant, but close all the same. Perhaps it is calling you. Or perhaps it is just marking the time, marking the change of the hour, the end of one part of the day, and the beginning of another. A reminder that the world moves whether you walk with it or not. You stand still for a moment longer, your gaze drifting up the valley. The dog has lifted his head now, ears standing tall. He does not bark. He does not need to. He has heard it too. The sheep move quietly behind you, unfazed. They do not look up. They know the sound as you do. Familiar, unhurried. There is no need to rush toward it. The bell will still be there when you arrive. You step forward again, slowly. The sound begins to fade, as it always does, but it leaves something behind, a sense of movement, a promise of something, maybe nothing, but you can't shake the feeling that it carries a weight beyond its tone. It isn't the first time you've heard it. Long ago, when you were younger and the world seemed less full of space, less full of silence, you would walk with your father down these very paths, and you would hear the bell tolling in the distance. He would say little, but you would both stop. Just for a moment, he would breathe deeply, and his eyes would turn toward the village. Sometimes, he would hum a quiet tune under his breath. Other times, he would remain silent, just as you do now, both of you listening to the same faraway sound, feeling it in the same deep place. It was always the same, always far enough away that you never had to answer, but close enough that you couldn't pretend it wasn't there. You didn't need to go. You didn't need to rush toward it. It wasn't a summons. It was just the day turning over, like a page in a book, like the sun sinking beneath the mountains. And now, as you walk alone, that same distant sound reaches you, just as it reached your father before. The cycle continues, and you can't help but wonder if you're following the same footsteps. The day shifts again. The sheep are moving now, closer together. The dog raises his head and starts toward them, his body low and focused. He moves like a shadow, flowing between the animals, guiding them without need of command. His presence is enough. He knows when to circle, when to guide, when to simply stay still. You walk with them, moving slowly up the ridge, following the sound of the bell as it fades and drifts, always beyond the next curve. The path is narrow here, worn by centuries of feet, hooves, boots, bare soles, and the grass at the edges is thick with dew. You do not hurry. You know where the path leads. You know where the bell is calling you. The earth here feels different. The air is heavier with history. The scent of pine, of wet stone, of grass turned brown under the autumn sky carries with it the weight of time. You've passed this way before, many times, yet it never feels quite the same. The land shifts, the ground softens, hardens, breaks apart in places. The trees bend and change with each passing year, but the sound of the bell remains the same. You reach the crest of the hill where the trees give way to a field of tall grasses. There, across the valley, you see it. A flicker of light from the village beyond, the distant shimmer of a copper-roofed house or a passing cart. The bell rings one last time, soft and clear. And then, just as quietly, the sound fades into the wind. You stand still for a moment. The silence that follows isn't empty. It's not even silent. It is full, like a cup filled to the brim, like the world itself, waiting for the next sound to make it whole again. You turn toward the flock. The day waits for you. The path ahead will take you home. The bell is gone, but it is always there. You didn't plan to see him today. The path you follow is not one most would call a road. It curves away from the pasture where your flock feeds, slips into a narrow crease between two hills, and disappears into a grove of bent firs. The soil here is dark and rich, littered with fallen needles and small stones rounded smooth by time. You walk slowly. There is no sound but your own breath, the gentle rhythm of boots over moss, and the whisper of branches brushing lightly overhead. The deeper you go, the quieter the world becomes. Even the birds are fewer here. Even the wind holds its tongue. You carry nothing but a pouch tied to your belt, a wheel of cheese wrapped in cloth, still warm from the smokehouse. It's not a gift exactly, but you always bring something when you walk this way. The forest opens slightly where the hill begins to rise. You step over a fallen tree, past a narrow stream, and there, half hidden in the shadow of stone, is the hut, if it can be called that. Just 3 walls and a lean-to roof, tucked beneath a ledge. Stacked stone, no mortar. A patchwork of bark and moss and branches. You've seen the roof cave once under snow, and the next time you came, it had been rebuilt. Slightly different, a little smaller, but still standing. You stop a few paces away. You don't call out. He knows you're here. You wait. There's movement, the creak of wood, a shift of weight. Then the sound of water being poured, the faint clink of a bowl set on stone. He steps out after a moment, thin, wrapped in layers of wool and fur, beard to his chest, hair tied back with a strip of leather. He doesn't look surprised. You nod. He nods. No words. You open the pouch and hold out the cheese. He takes it gently, without thanks. You don't expect it. He disappears inside, and when he returns, he carries a small bundle wrapped in cloth, something herbal. You can smell it before he hands it to you. Dried roots, a blend for aching joints. You've had it before. It works slowly, but it works. The exchange is done. Still, you stay. He gestures toward a flat stone near the door, then to a second one opposite. You sit. So does he. The forest folds around you again. Minutes pass. Neither of you speaks. Not because there is nothing to say, but because nothing needs to be said. You've met him a dozen times, maybe more, always like this, always without arrangement, without conversation, without promise. Sometimes he brings you pine resin or a bundle of bark, good for burning. Sometimes you bring him salt, or nettle, or a flask of broth. Once, when the dog had a deep cut on his flank, the hermit took him inside, cleaned the wound with something bitter and black, and sent you away. When you returned the next day, the dog walked out whole, quiet, grateful. He has a way of being near without pressing, of watching without judging. His eyes are clear, but they hold no weight, just presence, just time. You glance around. There are signs of his life, a coil of rope drying on a branch, herbs strung along the back wall, bones carefully stacked beside a hollow log. Not from waste, but from study. from reverence. The wind shifts slightly. You hear the call of a raven, far off, echoing through the pines. The hermit looks up, so do you. He nods once, then reaches into a pouch at his side and pulls out a small carved object, wood, smoothed by time. He hands it to you. You turn it over in your palm. It's a sheep, tiny, simple, made with a knife and patience. You look at him. He doesn't speak. He doesn't explain. You nod again. And then, gently, you rise. So does he. No farewell, no parting ritual. You begin walking back the way you came. You feel the weight of the carved sheep in your hand. You don't put it in your pocket. You hold it as you walk. It is light, but it carries something larger than itself. By the time you reach the bend in the path, the hut is gone from sight. The trees have closed behind you. The sound of the flock reaches your ears again, faint, but familiar. You do not look back. You don't need to. What passed between you wasn't conversation. It was presence. It was silence shared between those who understand how to listen. And sometimes, that is more than enough. The sun is low now, not yet gone, but heavy. Its light lies flat across the hills, turning every shadow long and soft, every stone golden at the edges. The sheep are quiet, clustered in the hollow near the stream bed, bellies full, breath slow. The dog lies watchful nearby, his ears still alert, but his body loose with rest. It is time to return. You begin the walk down from the slope, your feet finding the path not by thought, but by memory. These steps have been taken so many times they feel like part of you, like breath, like heartbeat. The stones know your weight. The trees have learned your scent. Even the wind makes space for your passing. Your legs ache, not sharply, not in pain, but in that deep, humming way that comes only at the end of a day well spent. Your knees protest slightly with every descent. Your boots press against skin that's rubbed raw in places. Your shoulders roll forward, heavy from the work of simply standing, walking, carrying. But it is a good ache, the kind that means the sheep were fed, the fences held, the herbs were found, the sky stayed kind. You pass a patch of tall grass, run your fingers through it. The blades are cool, slick with the last of the day's moisture. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls once, then falls silent again. A rabbit darts across the path and vanishes into shadow. You don't flinch. The world is winding down. The sky above is streaked now, pink, violet, faint gold. The first stars blink weakly behind the light, not yet strong enough to shine alone. Clouds drift like slow sails, barely moving. You round the last bend and see it, the hut. Simple, crooked, smoke curling faintly from the chimney. The small window lit from within by the orange breath of the fire. It isn't grand, it isn't beautiful, but it is home. The dog reaches the door before you do. He waits, tail still, body poised. You reach out, run your hand once along his back. He leans into it briefly, then pads to his corner by the bench. No command needed. He knows. You unlatch the door. The warmth greets you not as a surprise, but as a promise kept. The fire is low but alive. The smell of wood smoke wraps around your shoulders like a woolen shawl. The shadows inside are soft-edged, the room full of quiet, not empty, but resting. You hang your cloak. Remove your boots slowly, wincing as your heel comes free. You stretch your feet out near the hearth. The skin is red in places, raw in others. You run your thumb along a tight muscle in your calf. It pulses gently beneath your hand. You fill the kettle and place it over the flame. The water takes time to heat. That's fine. Everything can move slowly now. You sit on the bench, legs stretched out before you, and rest your head against the wall. Your body feels heavy, not just from motion, but from memory. The weight of the day pulls down gently on your eyelids, your jaw, your chest. You don't fight it. The kettle begins to whisper. You lift it carefully and pour into the clay cup where dried herbs gathered just yesterday wait. Nettles, a bit of chamomile, a pinch of something you don't remember the name of, but you like the way it smells. Earthy, software familiar. The steam rises. You wrap both hands around the cup. The warmth seeps into your fingers, your knuckles, your wrists. You sip slowly. Outside, night has settled in full. You hear the sheep once, a low bleat, not alarmed, just present. The flock shifting in their sleep. A bell chimes once, then falls quiet. The dog lifts his head, listens, then lays it down again. All is well. You finish your tea. You place the cup down on the bench. You add one more log to the fire. You stretch out on the cot with the patched blanket pulled over your shoulders. You breathe. The legs still ache, but they ache in peace. And tomorrow, they will carry you again. But not now. Now, you rest. The night deepens, and the hut becomes small in the best possible way, like a pocket folded into the fabric of the mountain. You sit near the fire, your legs stretched out, the patched wool blanket draped across your shoulders. The ache of the day is quieter now, dulled by warmth, softened by stillness. You hear the wood shift in the hearth, a faint crackle, a sigh of flame licking its own shadow. The light moves across the walls like breath, flickering gently. There is no rush. There never is at this hour. The dog sleeps at your feet, curled into the bend of your bench, his paws twitching now and then, with dreams you'll never know. You watch his chest rise and fall. He doesn't wake when you move. He trusts the night. He trusts you. You stand slowly, stretch once, and walk to the shelf where the bread is kept, wrapped in cloth, thick and dark, baked 2 days ago in the coals, with a crust that still crackles faintly when touched. You unwrap it with care, not out of ceremony, but familiarity. This moment is not a ritual, yet it feels sacred. You slice it slowly. The knife catches in the crust, then sinks into the soft middle, dense and chewy, sour from fermentation, filled with the scent of grain and heat. You place the slices on the flat stone near the fire, just close enough for warmth to touch them. Then you reach for the jug. The milk is cool, pulled from the stream bank where it's kept through the day. Goat's milk, thick and rich, sweet with the memory of summer grass. You pour it into the clay pot and set it near the flame, not over it, not to boil, just to warm. And as you wait, the smells begin to rise. Smoke and bread, milk and ash, a mixture of things made with your own hands, gathered in your own time, from your own land. You breathe in slowly. It smells like everything good about simplicity, like the softness that lives beneath all labor. You turn the bread. The edges brown slightly, just enough. You press a fingertip to the crust, hot but not burned. You take the pot from the fire. The milk swirls as it moves, steam curling above the rim. You pour it into your cup. Then you sit, bread in one hand, warm milk in the other. You eat slowly. The crust crunches, gives way to soft crumb. You taste salt and grain, the faint sourness of natural yeast. No butter, no honey, nothing extra. Just what it is. Enough. The milk is thick on the tongue. It coats your mouth, warms your chest as it goes down. You hold the cup between both hands, not only to drink, but to feel. To remember that heat can come from something so simple. Outside, the wind hums against the door. Not fierce, not threatening, just reminding you it's there. But inside is quiet. Inside is warm. You take another bite, another sip. The meal is not large, but it fills you. Not just your stomach, but something slower, something deeper. It speaks to the part of you that doesn't need more, that understands satisfaction as softness, not excess. You sit a while longer. The fire has faded to a deep orange. Embers glow under the ash like sleeping eyes. You watch them without needing to think. No stories run through your mind. No memories press forward. Only breath and warmth and the feel of soft bread between your fingers. When the cup is empty, you set it down. You wrap the remaining slice in cloth and return it to the shelf. You bank the fire, not out, not yet, but tucked in for the night. Then you step to the door. You open it slowly, just enough to look out. The world is dark, but it is not empty. Stars scatter across the sky, small and trembling. You hear a distant bell. You hear a sheep stir. You hear the breath of the land itself, exhaling slowly beneath the moon. You close the door gently. You walk back to your bed. The dog lifts his head, then sets it back down. You lie beneath the blanket. You are full. You are warm. You are quiet. And the day, finally, has ended in the softest way it could. You lie still, not asleep yet, but close. The blanket rests over your chest, warm with body heat. The fire has faded into a bed of slow glowing coals, and the room has shifted with it. Shadows soften. The air cools, not sharply, but enough to pull you deeper into the fabric of night. The dog breathes gently at the foot of the bed. You can't see him, but you hear him. The steady rise and fall, the occasional twitch of a paw against the wood floor. Outside, the wind has grown quieter, wrapping itself around the stones and thatch like wool. It is at this hour, every night, that you remember. You do not call it prayer, not out loud, not even in thought, but it feels like something sacred nonetheless. There are no words, no whispered verses, no folded hands. Just breathe. Just the slow turning inward, like a flame settling into the base of a candle. It always begins with the same shape of silence. You look at the ceiling, at the dark beams you know so well, their knots and lines, their stories etched in soot and time. And as you look, your thoughts begin to arrange themselves, like small stones in your palm, not heavy, just present. You do not speak, but if you did, you might say, "Thank you for the wool that held the wind back. Thank you for the quiet hooves. Thank you for the cheese that formed true, for the water that boiled and the fire that stayed lit." You remember your grandfather, the way he would sit by the door before bed, elbows on knees, palms turned upward, not speaking, just breathing. The world praying through him, perhaps, rather than the other way around. You wonder if he thought of his flock, if he whispered their names like saints. You never heard him say them, but he knew them all, by limp, by ear, by sound of chewing. You're the same now. Sometimes your mind drifts to people, to faces you haven't seen in many winters, to the woman who once helped you plant herbs before the ground turned, to the child you found chasing lambs and gently guided back downhill, to the traveler who stayed a single night and spoke of the sea. You don't hold on to them long, just enough to nod to their memory, just enough to send them warmth, if warmth can travel through silence. Then your thoughts drift again, to the earth beneath you, to the stones that held your walls, to the slope that didn't break, to the branch that held when your hand reached out, to the path that didn't vanish under fog. Not gratitude, exactly. Not request. Just acknowledgement. A moment of stillness shared with the invisible things that let you wake and walk and sleep again. You close your eyes. The dark behind your lids is softer than the dark in the room. And there, in that dark, the prayer continues, not as thought, not as voice, but as rhythm. the rhythm of your breath, the rhythm of the sheep shifting in the grass outside, the rhythm of the coals settling with soft clicks, the rhythm of your own heartbeat, steady and slow. You do not ask for anything. You do not confess. You do not try to be better than you are. You just lie there, still, warm, quiet, and listen. And that is enough. And if anything hears you, be it wind or time or the mountain itself, then maybe that too is enough. You step outside once more, not because you must, not because anything calls you, but because something gentle within asks for air, for stillness, for stars. The door closes behind you with a soft wooden click. The fire's warmth lingers on your shoulders, but already the night takes its place, cool and tender, wrapping around your skin like the hem of a heavy coat. You don't go far, just to the edge of the stone wall where you often sit, a place where the hut still breathes behind you, but the mountain opens ahead. The stone is cold beneath you, but solid, familiar. You lower yourself slowly and pull the thick cloak tighter around your shoulders. The night is wide. Above, the sky stretches without end, an endless hush pierced by stars. They do not shine. They rest, quiet and steady. You tilt your head back and let your eyes soften, letting their shapes come and go without counting. You don't need to know their names. You only need to feel that they're there. Beside you sits a small piece of cheese, wrapped in cloth, hard at the edges, dried from days on the shelf. You unwrap it carefully, cradling it in your worn palm. The smell is sharp, the texture rough. You break off a piece and place it on your tongue. It is bitter, not unpleasant, not harsh, just real. It tastes of smoke and salt, of effort and time. You chew slowly. It resists, then softens. It spreads warmth through your mouth in its own quiet way. No sweetness, no spice, just what it is, unapologetic. Your hands hold it gently. You look down at them, your own hands, weathered and strong. The cracks in your knuckles, the old burn on the back of your thumb, the deep lines across your palm, hands that have carried wood, tied knots, lifted lambs, rubbed warmth into frost-bitten limbs, hands that have known the same tasks over and over without complaint. These are not the hands of a poet, but they remember stories just the same. Each scar has a memory, each callus a lesson. You run your fingers along the edge of the cheese and take another bite. The dog pads out softly and curls beside your feet. He does not ask for food. He does not speak. He simply lies near, breathing in time with the quiet that surrounds you both. You feel the weight of his presence like a stone on warm earth. It grounds you. The fire's glow still flickers inside, but out here, another kind of warmth settles over you. The air is sharp but clean. You breathe in, and it fills your chest with something older than words. The scent of stone, of grass cooling in the dark, of your own sweat now turned to memory. The mountain has exhaled, and the world holds still. Above you, the stars keep watch. You don't look at them now. You feel them. Their distant nearness, their slow, ancient burn. You imagine the sheep below the slope, curled in woolen silence, watched by sky and wind and nothing more. You imagine tomorrow, your boots, your staff, your slow breath moving across familiar hills. But you don't linger in thought. You finish the cheese. The last bite crumbles slightly in your hand. You brush the crumbs from your lap with your thumb, slow and deliberate. There is no hurry, not for sleep, not for anything. The dog sighs and shifts closer. You reach down, fingers brushing his fur once. He leans into it briefly, then settles again. For a long time, you do not move. You simply sit there, with worn hands and bitter cheese, and stars overhead, and nothing more, and nothing less. The fire has died down again. Only a low glow remains, coals resting like sleepy eyes under a blanket of ash. You should sleep. You've eaten. You've worked. You've done what needed doing. And yet, you lie there, eyes open, watching the beam above your head, where the shadows flicker gently in the almost dark. The hut creaks. It does that when the temperature shifts. The roof settles. The wood contracts. Somewhere in the ceiling, a knot of pine gives a little sigh. You know each sound by tone. This one, the long groan near the door, means the outer beam has cooled. That short tap near the hearth? The nail in the mantel shifting just a breath. You listen to it all. And then, you feel it. That thread of air. Not cold enough to wake you fully. Not sharp enough to startle. But real. Whisper thin and just insistent enough to pull you out of half sleep. It slides in past your collar, traces the line of your neck, slips down your arm like water in a narrow stream bed. You close your eyes tighter, shift under the blanket. It helps, but only a little. The draft is there. It always finds a way. You know where it comes from. That gap in the stones behind the bench, just above the floor, where the mortar wore away one winter and you promised yourself you'd patch it when the thaw came. The thaw came. But so did other things. Still, the draft is not cruel, only persistent. Like time, like memory. You roll onto your side and pull the blanket higher. The dog sighs near the hearth, uncurls slightly, then tucks himself back into his own warmth. He's used to this too. The little movements of night, the small discomforts that don't need solving, only noticing. The hut breathes with you. Its walls are not perfect. They were not built to seal out every breeze. They were built to hold long enough, through storms, through hunger, through the kind of winters that peel bark from trees and frost from your own breath. You reach out and touch the wall beside your bed. Rough stone, cool. You press your fingers into the grooves, feel the slight movement of air tracing your knuckles. It's like touching the pulse of the mountain itself, steady, hidden, endlessly patient. You lie there a while, your hand resting against the wall, the draft moving past your fingers, barely there, like a ghost that means no harm. You don't resist it. You simply share space with it. Your mind drifts. To nights like this one long ago, when you were smaller, when the bed was not yours but your grandfather's, and the fire was still unfamiliar, and every sound in the hut made your heart beat faster. He would wake before dawn. You would pretend to sleep just to listen. The shuffle of his feet, the rattle of the kettle, the breath he'd take before speaking, not to you, but to the fire. Now those sounds are yours. You shift again under the blanket. The warmth you've built is fragile, but real. Your legs are tired, but still restless. The draft touches your neck again, as if to say, not yet, not quite. You stare up at the ceiling. The wooden beam there is cracked in 3 places. One of them holds a cobweb you never brushed away. It catches light during the day, becomes silver. At night, it's invisible, like most things worth keeping. The wind picks up outside. You hear it hiss along the roof line, slipping between boards, brushing the thatch like a hand through brittle hair. The trees outside respond with that low, swaying murmur that only old trees know, a kind of memory wrapped in motion. The draft finds your shoulder now. You smile, just a little. You can almost hear it laugh, like an old friend who always finds the back door unlocked. You don't fix it. You don't stuff the gap with cloth or bark or that square of felt tucked behind the bench, because the draft reminds you you're alive. It reminds you that the world still moves, even in the quietest hours, even when all things rest. It reminds you that the hut breathes, the mountain shifts, the stars turn, and that even within stone and silence, there's always something slipping through. You close your eyes again. The draft curls against your neck. You pull the blanket just high enough to trap it, just for now. And sleep comes like smoke, slowly, with edges that fade. And the wind keeps speaking through the cracks, but it no longer keeps you awake. Sleep takes you gently, not like a wave, not like a fall, more like mist rising from warm grass at dawn. It pulls you in slowly, breath by breath, thought by thought, until your body becomes still and your mind opens like a gate left ajar. And in that space, soft and deep, the dream begins. You are not in the hut. You are in a field, a wide green meadow that stretches farther than your eyes can follow. The grass is tall, brushing your legs, thick with flowers you know by name only in dreams. Soft violet bells, white tufts like clouds, golden petals that tilt to the sky. There is no path here, no fence, no need for one. The sheep are scattered across the land, glowing in the light of a summer sun that never burns, only warms. Their bells are gone, yet you hear music, not from them, not from you, just from the air itself, a low hum, a harmony. The sky above you is not blue. It is every color you've ever seen in your best memory. The clouds move slowly, like thoughts with nowhere to go. The wind is warm and sweet, and it carries the scent of cut hay, river water, and something softer, maybe honey, maybe thyme. Your boots are gone. Your feet press into earth that yields and holds, like soft loam after a rain, or a bed of moss beneath trees. You walk without weight, without weariness. Your arms feel light, your chest open. In the dream, you remember summer the way a child does, not by date, not by calendar, but by sensation, the stickiness of sweat on the neck, the scratch of grass on bare knees, the echo of bees moving slowly between flowers, too busy to care about anything else. You see a stream ahead. You kneel beside it. The water is clear, but it glows, not from sun, but from within. You cup your hands and drink. It tastes like cold fruit, like laughter. You rise again, and now the meadow is full of people. You do not know their names, but you know their faces. The woman who once handed you a bowl of soup when you were 17 and hadn't eaten in 2 days. The old shepherd who taught you how to mend a fence without nails. The boy who ran down the slope chasing a kite made of sheepskin and string. People who never stayed, but never left you. They do not speak. They walk with you. And the meadow continues. Now you are near an apple tree, alone, tall, full of red fruit, each one glowing faintly like embers that never burn. You reach for one, and as your hand closes around it, you remember. You're dreaming, but you do not wake. You stay in the dream. You bite the apple. It is crisp, not too sweet. The sound of your chewing blends with the wind in the grass. A lamb passes by, its wool soft as fog, its eyes old. It looks at you. You look back. You nod to each other, and it moves on. Time has no place here. The sun does not rise or set. It simply stays, golden, gentle. Your clothes change. Now you are wrapped in linen, in warmth. There is no weight on your back, no staff in your hand. The skin on your fingers is smooth. Your knees do not ache. You are as you were, once, and also as you will be, always. A bell rings, but not from the flock, from somewhere higher, somewhere inside the sky. You turn toward it, and the meadow fades, not into darkness, but into light so soft it has no edge. Your feet still touch ground, but your body no longer feels bound to it. And then, you are back. Not suddenly, not with a start, but like breath returning after a long sigh. The cot beneath you is warm, the blanket heavy. The dog still sleeps. The fire is only coals now. The stars outside your shutter are distant and calm. You do not move. You remember the meadow. You remember the lamb. You remember the apple, the sky, the stream that sang. And though it was only a dream, you carry it with you as if it were real. Because in a place like this, where breath is slow and nights are long and the mountain listens, even dreams have roots. You stand on the threshold of your simple hut, shoulders weighed not by burden, but by the calm of midnight. The latch lifts quietly beneath your calloused fingers, and the heavy wooden door swings softly on its hinges, releasing you into darkness that feels more gentle than terrifying. The hut behind you breathes warmth and memories, coals smoldering in the hearth, blankets scented with smoke and time. The air beyond the doorway is cool, laden with faint scents you know by heart, dew on grass, the sharp tang of hay, and the earthy warmth of wool. Each breath fills your lungs with that complex perfume, grounding you in the moment, reminding you the world is alive beyond these four walls. You pause, savoring the silence between exhalations, the metal stars faintly shimmering overhead. The narrow path ahead winds between low hedgerows once laid by ancient hands to guide the flock. The ground yields softly, still damp from evening mist, cushioning each footstep and carrying a susurration of fallen leaves. You slow your pace, matching your breathing to the beat of your heart, which softens in this timeless corridor beneath a vault of stars. In the meadow's embrace, the sheep lie like living clouds, their wool shimmering with dew. They huddle together against the chill, shapes melding into one another as they share warmth and breath. Not a single bell rings here. Sound itself has surrendered to the night. You stand at the edge, a silent observer, feeling the gentle rise and fall of bodies below like waves in a patient sea. Toward the center of the flock, the scent of hay grows stronger with every breath you draw. It mingles with wool, earth, and evening air until the aroma feels sacred, an offering you did not earn. You kneel on the soft grass, abandoning tools and burdens, and press your face gently against a patch of dry hay. It feels cool and alive, cradling you in its silent arms. You extend a hand to the nearest you, brushing your palm through dense wool until you reach the warm hide beneath. The texture is soft and yielding, yet undeniably strong, woven from seasons of growth and nurture. Her eye reflects the moonlight, calm and knowing. No words are needed in this solitary communion. Your presence and hers merge without thought or command, each trusting the other completely. Beneath your hand, you sense the steady beating of her heart, a silent drum guiding the night. The flock's collective breathing becomes a hymn, slow and unwavering. You close your eyes to focus, feeling your own pulse aligning with this sacred cadence. Time seems to stretch, minutes fold into moments that feel eternal. There is no past here, no future, only the gentle hush of now, where fear and peace entwine. Beyond the sheep, the mountains stand as silent sentinels, dark and towering. Their outlines are etched in silver against the sky, ancient forms guarding the valley. A breeze stirs their peaks, carrying echoes of wind through pine and rock. You can almost feel their weight, the slow shifting of stone that began before you were born. Yet in their stillness, they offer solace, grounding you deeper into the earth's embrace. Above you, a tapestry of stars unfolds, each point of light a distant sun burning through eons of space. You lie back completely now, head resting on thick grass, as if on a pillow. The sky yawns overhead, vast beyond comprehension. You imagine traveling those spaces, drifting between worlds. But your body remains here, anchored by gravity and the scent of hay, tethered to the silent chorus below. Your mind drifts to childhood summers spent in fields far from any village, when you believed the world was boundless and every horizon reachable. You recall grassy knolls stained with sunlight, laughter chasing you down slopes, warmth on your skin so deep it felt like a blessing. Those days shimmer now like memory flowers, delicate and luminous. You breathe deeply, welcoming that warmth back into your bones, if only for a heartbeat. The dog emerges then from the shadow of a tree, silent paws on grass. He pads to your side, pressing his warmth against your leg. You stroke his coat, rough with years, and feel the strength of his loyalty. Together, you share this vigil, two creatures bound by routine, comfort, and unspoken understanding. He settles beside you, head resting on his paws, eyes closed but alert to every rustle beyond the flock. You sense fear too, a gentle undercurrent of caution that helps keep both sheep and shepherd safe. It is not panic, but awareness, a readiness to respond, to rise if a wolf's cry were to pierce the darkness. You do not judge this fear, you honor it. It is the sentinel within, guarding the fragile stillness you both cherish. Without it, there would be no comfort, only risk unremembered. Peace circles above and below, weaving through the breaths of animal and man. It settles in your chest like a silent hymn, unhurried and full. Every inhale fills you with calm. Every exhale releases tension you didn't know you carried. You lift your face to the stars, letting night air brush your skin. Cold and soft, it brings tears to your eyes, tears of gratitude, of awe at this perfect moment. In this place, words falter. There is only sense, wool against hand, earth beneath ribs, breeze tracing lines along your jaw. Trees sigh beyond the pasture, distant crickets add their chorus, a gentle percussion to the sheep's lullaby. You taste the tang of midnight dew on your lips, feel it on your tongue like a promise unspoken. Everything converges here in the cradle of hay, breath, and dark. Your body grows heavy, welcomed by earth's firmness and the sheep's warmth. You find yourself lying fully on your back, arms splayed like roots, senses wide open. In this posture, you feel small and vast at once, part of something older than memory. A shooting star traces a line across the sky. You watch until it dissolves, then close your eyes. The land listens, and you feel heard. Sleep drifts in on gentle currents, guided by the sheep's breath and the scent of hay. You give in without regret, letting eyelids fall as the stars hold their vigil. Fear no longer matters, for peace has claimed this hour. Your breath slows until it matches the steady exhalations around you, a universal rhythm pulsing beneath the mountains. You sink deeper, held by comfort that transcends words. And so the night remains, cradling you in its velvet arms. Sheep's breath, the scent of hay, and stillness converge to lull you into a sleep deeper than any you have known. Here, under the watchful sky, you finally understand that belonging is not a single place, but a state born of peace and fear entwined. You stand on the threshold of your simple hut, shoulders weighed not by burden, but by the calm of midnight. The latch lifts quietly beneath your calloused fingers, and the heavy wooden door swings softly on its hinges, releasing you into darkness that feels more gentle than terrifying. The hut behind you breathes warmth and memories, coals smoldering in the hearth, blankets scented with smoke and time. The air beyond the doorway is cool, laden with faint scents you know by heart, dew on grass, the sharp tang of hay, and the earthy warmth of wool. Each breath fills your lungs with that complex perfume, grounding you in the moment, reminding you the world is alive beyond these four walls. You pause, savoring the silence between exhalations, the metal stars faintly shimmering overhead. The narrow path ahead winds between low hedgerows once laid by ancient hands to guide the flock. The ground yields softly, still damp from evening mist, cushioning each footstep and carrying a susurration of fallen leaves. You slow your pace, matching your breathing to the beat of your heart, which softens in this timeless corridor beneath a vault of stars. In the meadow's embrace, the sheep lie like living clouds, their wool shimmering with dew. They huddle together against the chill, shapes melding into one another as they share warmth and breath. Not a single bell rings here. Sound itself has surrendered to the night. You stand at the edge, a silent observer, feeling the gentle rise and fall of bodies below, like waves in a patient sea. Toward the center of the flock, the scent of hay grows stronger with every breath you draw. It mingles with wool, earth, and evening air until the aroma feels sacred, an offering you did not earn. You kneel on the soft grass, abandoning tools and burdens, and press your face gently against a patch of dry hay. It feels cool and alive, cradling you in its silent arms. You extend a hand to the nearest ewe, brushing your palm through dense wool until you reach the warm hide beneath. The texture is soft and yielding, yet undeniably strong, woven from seasons of growth and nurture. Her eye reflects the moonlight, calm and knowing. No words are needed in this solitary communion. Your presence and hers merge without thought or command, each trusting the other completely. Beneath your hand, you sense the steady beating of her heart, a silent drum guiding the night. The flock's collective breathing becomes a hymn, slow and unwavering. You close your eyes to focus, feeling your own pulse aligning with this sacred cadence. Time seems to stretch. Minutes fold into moments that feel eternal. There is no past here, no future, only the gentle hush of now, where fear and peace entwine. Beyond the sheep, the mountains stand as silent sentinels, dark and towering. Their outlines are etched in silver against the sky, ancient forms guarding the valley. A breeze stirs their peaks, carrying echoes of wind through pine and rock. You can almost feel their weight, the slow shifting of stone that began before you were born. Yet in their stillness, they offer solace, grounding you deeper into the earth's embrace. Above you, a tapestry of stars unfolds, each point of light a distant sun burning through eons of space. You lie back completely now, head resting on thick grass as if on a pillow. The sky yawns overhead, vast beyond comprehension. You imagine traveling those spaces, drifting between worlds, but your body remains here, anchored by gravity and the scent of hay, tethered to the silent chorus below. Your mind drifts to childhood summer spent in fields far from any village, when you believed the world was boundless and every horizon reachable. You recall grassy knolls stained with sunlight, laughter chasing you down slopes, warmth on your skin so deep it felt like a blessing. Those days shimmer now like memory flowers, delicate and luminous. You breathe deeply, welcoming that warmth back into your bones, if only for a heartbeat. The dog emerges then from the shadow of a tree, silent paws on grass. He pads to your side, pressing his warmth against your leg. You stroke his coat, rough with years, and feel the strength of his loyalty. Together, you share this vigil, two creatures bound by routine, comfort, and unspoken understanding. He settles beside you, head resting on his paws, eyes closed, but alert to every rustle beyond the flock. You sense fear, too, a gentle undercurrent of caution that helps keep both sheep and shepherds safe. It is not panic, but awareness, a readiness to respond, to rise if a wolf's cry were to pierce the darkness. You do not judge this fear, you honor it. It is the sentinel within, guarding the fragile stillness you both cherish. Without it, there would be no comfort, only risk unremembered. Peace circles above and below, weaving through the breaths of animal and man. It settles in your chest like a silent hymn, unhurried and full. Every inhale fills you with calm. Every exhale releases tension you didn't know you carried. You lift your face to the stars, letting night air brush your skin. Cold and soft, it brings tears to your eyes, tears of gratitude, of awe at this perfect moment. In this place, words falter. There is only sense, wool against hand, earth beneath ribs, breeze tracing lines along your jaw. Trees sigh beyond the pasture. Distant crickets add their chorus, a gentle percussion to the sheep's lullaby. You taste the tang of midnight dew on your lips, feel it on your tongue like a promise unspoken. Everything converges here in the cradle of hay, breath, and dark. Your body grows heavy, welcomed by earth's firmness and the sheep's warmth. You find yourself lying fully on your back, arms splayed like roots, senses wide open. In this posture, you feel small and vast at once, part of something older than memory. A shooting star traces a line across the sky. You watch until it dissolves, then close your eyes. The land listens, and you feel heard. Sleep drifts in on gentle currents, guided by the sheep's breath and the scent of hay. You give in without regret, letting eyelids fall as the stars hold their vigil. Fear no longer matters, for peace has claimed this hour. Your breath slows until it matches the steady exhalations around you, a universal rhythm pulsing beneath the mountains. You sink deeper, held by comfort that transcends words. And so the night remains, cradling you in its velvet arms. Sheep's breath, the scent of hay, and stillness converge to lull you into a sleep deeper than any you have known. Here, under the watchful sky, you finally understand that belonging is not a single place, but a state born of peace and fear entwined.